Hey everyone, just wanted to go over some quick thoughts leading into our January 25th snowstorm here in Indiana and across much of the Midwest, although I'll be focusing on Indiana here. Would have done this earlier, got a little busy, snowstorm coming up, meteorologist, you know how it goes. But here we are, better late than never, and we'll dive into it. Now, the storm is going to start here actually in a few hours, so we're pretty close to what's going to occur. So I'm going to start with surface analysis. We got 1,004 millibar low, I should say, right now over Louisiana, but a ton of precipitation out ahead of it. We've been seeing this thing begin to deepen, and that's certainly going to set it up for more strengthening, more precipitation, and what will end up being a pretty heavy snowfall in Indiana. Already seeing snowfall and have seen snowfall across parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, you can see Missouri, some snow out there, a little bit of rain heading into southern Indiana, southern Illinois, across parts of Tennessee and Kentucky. Surface temps right now sit in the 30s and 40s. That's something we've been talking about for a while. That will allow things to start off as rain before we see enough evaporational cooling to take it into snow. If we go back and look, this is 72 hours ago now. Our system was starting out there on the Pacific Northwest in the U.S. right there, and you can kind of see it dives down, begins to get itself together. Still a positively tilted trough though over Arizona, New Mexico. As we made it to around the present moment, we can see it beginning to become negatively tilted as it matures as a system, pulling a lot of moisture out of the Gulf. You can see that jet streak to the east. That's going to be directly over Indiana, actually, in a little bit there, in the left exit region, in fact, too, which, of course, helps for divergence aloft, and that will lead to some heavier precipitation, of course. And that's going to be the story leading into this storm system. Again, a strong low deepening, becoming more mature, and a lot of dynamics to support what will be heavy snowfall. So looking at this earlier, this is our NAM front of Genesis, and temperature advection at 700 millibars. More importantly here than anything else, I was looking at the potential for a deformation band to set up, perhaps along the first wave of snow here. You can kind of see that over northern Indiana. I'm still waiting to see if that actually happens, but could be some locally higher amounts than forecast in some spots out there, but we'll see. You can see the main system still is going to be southern Indiana, and we certainly have what will be a very heavy snowfall. So let's jump into some of the timing here. This is we're going to use the NAM3K. It's been pretty good with this storm system, and as you can see, here we are at around 2 a.m., finally beginning to change over to snow, heavy snow at that too. Because the system's coming out of the Gulf, the column is very saturated, and if we take a sounding, I mean, you can see just, I mean, that's very very deep saturation, and of course the dendritic growth zone is well saturated there too. Good for, of course, snow. Now, as we head through that first wave of snow, you can see we get that quick burst early in the morning before sunrise. That'll eventually move into Ohio, and then what we have here in the middle, and I believe the HUR is actually depicting that a little better, but what we have there in the middle of this, let's see, the HUR's got for us is a dry slot, and that's going to give us a little bit of a lull in that snowfall, separating the first from second wave. Yeah, dry slot's a little more pronounced in the HUR here. One of the challenges with forecasting this was where the primary low is going to go, because you're going to get that first shot of heavy snow. Everyone's going to pick up 2, 3, even 4 inches. But if you really want to see those high amounts, you need that secondary low to slide through. HER's been showing a lot of sleep, by the way. I'm not certain I'm buying as much as it's depicting here, but worth noting if perhaps if there is some kind of bust, you might be able to re-examine that. But not so bullish on that. You can see the secondary low, or the primary low, I should say. Second wave of the storm cuts right through Indiana here. Heavy snow is going to be cut off between central and southeastern Indiana. That's, again, a challenge for us, where exactly that cutoff is. But certainly, you're not only seeing some mixing in southeast Indiana, but you have that dry slot there as well, which is a challenge. Worth noting as well, if we look at temperatures for tomorrow, here we are. You can see they really hover around 32, 33, even 34 degrees. This is going to be a very heavy and wet snow. We have a lot of precipitation. In fact, our precipitable water amounts are quite high, but more importantly, our QPF is quite significant as well. I've been seeing a pretty good consensus around an inch of QPF in Indianapolis. Typically that'd be 10 inches of snow at a 10-to-1 ratio, but I believe we're going to need to look closer at an 8-to-1 ratio for this. And because it will rain in the beginning, not all that snow will immediately stick either. You may need to shave another inch off that. But that still leaves us with a good 7-inch potential for downtown Indianapolis, in my opinion, and you could get some locally higher amounts as well. Um, Waiting for this to load up. My internet's been kind of slow recently. Actually, it's my computer. I just got a new one. But you can see here we're at 6 a.m. First wave of precipitation is pretty much over in Indiana at this point, and we're looking at, again, a substantial amount of precipitation, especially for winter time. And then here we go. This takes us to about noon, and that's where our snow is about to begin to taper off. You know, the heaviest waves are going to come in that 3 to 6 a.m. window, and then again that kind of 7 to 10 or 11 a.m. window. And that'll leave us with what you can see here is, again, a very substantial amount of precipitation. We're looking at 1.1 inches is our QPF on the HRRR. So that, again, I believe will put us in around the 7-inch range relatively safely. Again, that's assuming closer to an 8-to-1 ratio with those mild temps and you know, a little bit of a heavier wet snow. If you want to look at amounts here, we'll do a quick overview of some of our latest runs on the models. GFS has been a little more northerly the whole time. You can see it still leaves that stripe, and we're looking at Kuchera, by the way, to kind of take into account that wetter snow, as 10-to-1 ratios would be much higher amounts, just unrealistic for this situation though. You kind of have that southwest to northeast orientation. Again, the center of that snow cuts right through central Indiana. That's where you're going to get the most snow from that first wave and the second wave. That's kind of where they cross over. Amounts are a little bit lesser in the southeastern part of the state. That's where there's going to be that dry air and the mixing in that second wave. And in northern Indiana, it won't snow as heavily, and you can see that up through Chicagoland. And really, you know, that's why there's not as much snow in northern Missouri and Iowa, places like that. So that's the GFS. Also not dropping a ton of snow in northern Ohio, but some other models a little more friendly towards that. Euro and GFS have lined up pretty well, as you can see here. Euro's been a little more bullish on snow in the direction of Toledo and out through Muncie, Indiana. That's the northeast part of Indiana. But again, same type of story. The heaviest snow lines up. We got Indianapolis right here, that 5.9. And we've been saying, I've been saying since Saturday, that's 4 days out, the heaviest snow looks like it's going to be between Fort Wayne and Indianapolis. And largely, I still feel confident in that forecast. Might be a little bit farther south, maybe a little farther west than I had first expected, but you can see that stripe of heavy snow right through the middle of the state, a little less snow in the northern part of the state, and certainly lesser amounts in the southeast. We want to look at the NAM now, some of the high resolution models. A sharper cutoff on the NAM here between those heaviest snowfall amounts and the southeast. Also, this is more of a southerly band. The NAM certainly would, in this case, have the low taking more of a track along the river, not penetrating Indiana as much, and that's why you have, again, that heavier snow farther to the south. But Indianapolis right here, still kind of in the bullseye. Areas to the west and a little bit north of Indianapolis, still seeing a substantial amount of snow. Whether we can see this much precipitation in the southeast, we're going to need to wait and see what the low track does. And the HRRR again, the NAM's kind of becoming a little more of an outlier. The HRRR still, there's Indianapolis right here, runs the heaviest snow from southwest to northeast. Still looks like the heaviest snow may be a little bit to the north and east of Indianapolis, but there's that cutoff again in the southeastern part of the state. Some snow northern Ohio on here too. NAM's a little more friendly, Euro's a little more friendly, GFS, it could be friendlier. But as you can see, that trend is certainly there. Oh, jumped into the future. Yeah, it's going to be a busy week of weather if you want to look at it ahead there. But this was our forecast from earlier in the evening on Fox 59. Again, this was made around 4 o'clock, so several hours ago now. We didn't have the 0Z data, didn't even have the 18Z data, but I don't believe much has changed. This has been a very, very consistent storm system. There have not been a lot of shifts in the data, and there's been a lot of agreement in ensembles and really all sorts of information we've received. And you can see that stripe of 5 to 8 inches. I do believe we're going to be capped off around 8 inches in terms of our upper end totals. Now, there could be an isolated 9 or 10 inch report, but with the ratios here, it's going to be tough. There's going to be some compaction too. That's going to limit totals if you're measuring after the snow's ended after quite a couple hours. But again, widespread 5 to 8 inches, 3 to 6, even more widespread than that, accounting for a little bit of drying in the southeastern part of the state, a little mixing. Then 1 to 3 if you're kind of out of the central Indiana area, closer to Cincinnati. That's again where you're going to see most of that mixing and the dry air. Other things worth noting, This is not going to be a cold storm system, as we talked about a moment ago. Temperatures largely stay in the 30s through the day. Wind is also not going to be as substantial. You could see gusts that get up to around 30 miles per hour, but I'm not expecting anything much more than that. With the heavy nature of the snow, it's not going to blow around as much, but you could get more isolated power outages with it weighing down some trees. I would not be shocked if we saw a couple trees take out some wires. Very possible, even though the wind isn't going to be that strong. The weight of the snow will be significant. The morning, certainly really anywhere, but especially in Indiana. We'll hop back to our HRRR. Really, you're not going to be able to drive. I wouldn't test it at all. You can see, again, once we get into that heavy snow, this is 3 a.m. from the onset. We're talking about snowfall rates of around an inch per hour here. And heading into the second wave of the snow, this is going to take us right through what would be the traditional morning commute, again, 7 to 11 a.m. Still some very heavy snow, up to 2 inches per hour at this point, and that's where our heaviest snow is going to be. I mean, just look how saturated the lower level of the atmosphere is here, up to up a little above 500 millibars, in fact. That's a saturated dendritic growth zone for sure. It's going to snow, and it's going to snow hard for a time here. For entertainment purposes only, I'll show you the NMB here, or NBM, excuse me, National Blended Models. The 6-hour thunder probabilities. Again, for entertainment purposes only, although I won't say it'll be impossible. We can get an update on some of this here. You can kind of see, oh, there it goes. Okay, well, you can kind of see here in southern Indiana, that's around a 5% chance of perhaps a rumble of thunder between 1 and 7 a.m. So I'm not saying there's going to be thunder snow, but I'm saying there may be this much of a chance. I'm just saying, for entertainment purposes only. But if you see some, make sure you let me know. Otherwise, yeah, that kind of sums up the storm here. Again, 5 to 8 inches. It's gonna be a heavy, wet snowfall. The last time Indiana got this level of snow, and actually we'll hop on SCASIS here and just take a quick look. Last time Indiana got this amount of snowfall was last February 3rd. What are we looking at here? Snowfall. And if we search this, oh, that is not what we wanted. We wanted a restricted date range, 2015. I did length the period 2 days so that we can kind of see basically the window of storms being a little more than just a 1 day snowfall. And if we take a look at our end dates here, yeah, there we are. February 3rd and 4th, we got 7.6 inches. After that, you gotta go back to 2021. There was 8 inches. Really haven't been any substantial snowfalls. Nothing in 2020. Got 6 in 2019. Got a few in 2019, a few bigger ones, but haven't had a lot of big snowfalls like this in Indianapolis. It's been about once a year for the past couple of years, so this is worth noting. And certainly, if you're out there shoveling, take it easy. These storms always kind of bring out the concern of you hear about heart attacks when you get big snowfalls and it's heavy wet snow. Yeah, just take it easy. But also, great snowball snow, great for making snowmen, great for snowball fights, of course. So if you get the chance, enjoy it and stay safe out there.